Good afternoon, grinders. This is your MLB SimLabs analysis for Tuesday, July 1st. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD. BlenderHD, if you want to follow me on Twitter, hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We got Grinders Live later today, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time with Kevin Roth, and that's going to be important today because we have a lot of East Coast is getting. There's a line of storms going through the East Coast, and especially if you're playing the early slate. I mean, you got some games that may be PPD'd. I mean, by the time you watch this video, essentially. But on this 10-game slate, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be a 10-game slate. We got problems in Tampa Bay. We got problems in New York. We got problems in Boston. We got problems in Atlanta. Colorado, probably fine. Probably fine. But Roth does have that as yellow. You can see up on the screen. But the Tampa Bay game, Athletics at the Rays. I mean, most of these are not going to be like pitching spots. Okay, this is going to be the hitting spots. So most of the top pitchers on today's slate, well, maybe one we have to worry. One, two, maybe. It's going to be these are offensive spots, especially Cincinnati at Boston. So at Tampa Bay, okay, maybe a delay. I don't know. Well, we'll take a look at the radar later today. Atlanta, we always have issues in Atlanta that the kind of patchy stuff comes through. If it goes over the ballpark, you're screwed, and if it doesn't, then you're probably fine. But the Cincinnati Boston game, Rod says around the storms likely clears around pregame, and then another round moves in, and maybe around 10 o'clock. It's a tight window. Maybe they get the game in. Maybe they end up. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they don't start. Maybe they do one of those things where they late start when they shouldn't, and then a storm comes in, and next thing you know, third inning you're done. But this is why you have to tune into Crunch Time. In addition to all the picks, all the plays, all the analysis on the slate, you also get Roth with his weather radar. He puts it up there, shows you everything, gives his prediction on when stuff is going to come through. It should you expect a late start, but then they're fine later in the day, later in the night, so don't worry about it. So all that type of stuff will be on Crunch Time, but it's mostly going to affect hitters today because Tampa Bay 5 implied run total. 5.05, Cincinnati with a 5 run total, Boston with a 5 run total, Atlanta 5.55 implied run total, and then Colorado. I mean, obviously Houston has a 6.04 implied run total in Colorado, and the Dodgers have a 5.73 implied run total, but they're fine. So a lot of top offenses on today's slate are in some of these games that are iffy. Right, Milwaukee at the Mets. I mean, that's not as much of a hitting environment, but they may have problems there. That game may be PPD'd before the slate even starts, so that would be great. So you don't even have to worry about it. So it's a 10-game slate as of now, but it may not be by the time lock hits, and it may not be by the time by the end of the slate. But we're gonna act as if all these games are playing. Okay, for the intents and purposes of looking at SimLabs right now, nothing's postponed. We're going to act like everything is playing. So we go over to SimLabs. The top projected pitchers on the slate. It's there's pretty much, I would say, 2 top clear options, then like 2 right underneath that, and then kind of like everyone else. We have Yoshi Yamamoto. We have as the highest projected pitcher on today's slate with 21 median fantasy points. Optimal rate, 35%. Then Jacob deGrom. And Yamamoto's 10.8, so these are expensive pitchers. Jacob deGrom, 10.3K. We have it just underneath, 20.86 median fantasy points, 24.76% chance of being optimal. Then it drops. Then we have Grant Holmes, 9,700, 18-point projection, 17.65% chance of being optimal. Then Shane Baz, who is in the Tampa Bay, 17-point projection, 16% chance of being optimal. But obviously, if that game doesn't play, you don't want to play Shane Baz. But we should have information on that game early because that's the first game on the slate, 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Then it's kind of like then it drops off for the most part. I guess from a projection standpoint, Matthew Boyd at 9K is okay. Freddie Peralta, although against the Mets, although I'm not sure if that game plays. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be iffy. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, you'll know about that kind of before lock for Freddie Peralta. But I don't expect guys like Peralta and Boyd to be all that owned. Most of the ownership will be going to Yamamoto and Jacob deGrom. And we have right here, based on the optimal rates, that we have deGrom at 44% projected own and Yamamoto at 24% projected own. I think that'll actually be a little bit closer, but we have Yamamoto as like 50% more likely to be optimal compared to deGrom. So 24 versus 35. So based on our projected ownership right now, even if you kind of flatten it out a bit, we have Yamamoto as underowned and deGrom as overowned. And Grant Holmes, we have around what he should be owned, and Baz as a little bit overowned, although I think Baz's ownership starts coming down more and more that this Tampa Bay game may not play. Where does that ownership go? Probably ends up, probably a little bit is going to go to Yamamoto and deGrom. Then some is going to go to Grant Holmes because, Shane Baz is 8,800 and these other guys are more expensive. So maybe some will go to Matthew Boyd. Some will go to some of these like just random, like Michael Lorenzen and Jeffrey Sprint. That game, who knows? Zach Gallen maybe at 7,800. These aren't like the greatest of options. It'll get spread out a bunch. There's not that many pitching options on today's slate. Actually, assuming all the games play, there's a lot more hitting options than pitching options. So as of now, I'm looking probably to play a bunch of Yamamoto. And then, if I play 3 lineups, I'm going to play 3 different stacks because we can see here in the top stacks tool, we have a whole bunch of green here at the top. So it's 20 teams on the slate as of now. Now, this is not including whether or not games get rained out. But we have the Dodgers as the highest optimal stack, although they're pretty expensive, and Colorado number 2. Even though 4.96 implied run total is not there's nothing to shake a stick at. Even though Colorado's not good. Then we have we can see here right now in the top Cincinnati and Boston. Right, Cincinnati 11.5%, Boston 9%. But that game has rain issues. Atlanta 9.5%. That game has rain issues, and obviously Houston in Colorado, probably one of the most owned stacks on today's slate, about 11%. Then it kind of drops off. Then we get like Tampa Bay at 5.9. We get the Angels at 4.57. Although I'm not sure if that's great against the matchup with Grant Holmes. I think I'm much more likely to play Holmes than the Angels, but we'll see. But we see a lot of offenses to choose from. And I'm assuming SimLabs is going to like Colorado, even though not a good team. But as far as price is concerned, but like the best game on the slate, I think, is the Cincinnati-Boston game if it plays. If it plays. If it doesn't play, or there's problems where you only get 5 innings, you don't want to play hitting stats from a game that's you only get half a game from. So you got to really watch out for that. But we're gonna act like all these games are fine for SimLabs reasons. So I'm gonna run 150 lineups, even though I'm gonna play. I think I'm gonna play 3 lineups today, right? 3 small field lineups, right? Medium results range. Right, 5-man stacks. Let's see what comes up. Right, you can still run it with 150 and see what happens. I'm assuming we're gonna get a lot of Yamamoto. I'm assuming we get a lot of Rockies. I'm not gonna like it, but we're gonna get a lot of Rockies. I still think we get a lot of Cincinnati and Boston. Not as many Dodgers. Just the expensiveness of a 5-man stack. Okay, so we're gonna go. We got 150 lineups up here. The first one is a Houston lineup. The second one is a Reds lineup. Let's take a look at the exposures here. Let's look at the starting pitchers. Yep, a lot more deGrom than Yamamoto, actually. Right, we get deGrom, Yamamoto, then Baz. Not as much Grant Holmes as I thought. Right? Are there going to be a lot of deGrom, Yamamoto lineups? Let's see. Interesting. Obviously, you're going to get a bunch of a little of everyone else. Some Tyler Anderson, I guess, against if that game plays against the Braves with a 5.55 implied run total. I don't know about that. Richard Fitz, yeah, in the Cincinnati Boston game. Brady Singer, you get a bunch of against Boston. I know Boston's lineup isn't really good anymore, but in a game with a 10+ total, if it plays, not hot about that. But Michael Lorenzen could be fine. KC at Seattle, that could be okay. That's an okay spot. Baz, you may not even have an option. Baz, man, that game may just get rained out. Let's see team wise. Yeah, a lot of cores, a lot of Astros, a lot of Rockies. Then the Red Sox, then the Reds, then the Braves, and then barely any of the Dodgers because they're just expensive. I think the Dodgers probably are best used as one-offs on a slate like today, right? We can see here. Yeah, Rockies. Just because of his expense. So what do these lineups look like? So I'm going to take a look because here's something you could do with SimLabs. You could lock in team stacks. You could lock in players. I want to see what Yamamoto DeGrom lineups look like. Like, what are highly rated? If you just pay up twice at pitcher, there's got to be some of them, right? Because we got like 48% of one, 32% of the other. But what do these lineups look like? So if I wanted to play, I'm assuming these are Rockies lineups, just from just from price consideration, 5-man Rocky stacks with both top pitchers. Let's see. This is how you could use SimLabs as a research tool. It's like, who do you want to play? Who do you not want to play? And what are the highest rated lineups look like that have that type of configuration? Do they even exist? Sometimes you put stuff in and it'll just give you vomit, and you're like, okay, I guess that wasn't the right choice. Okay, so we get some here. We got Yamamoto, DeGrom. Here's a Cincinnati lineup, right? A Cincinnati lineup with the Rockies, right? So you get Stevenson, McLean, Carson, CES, Benson, Steer, then Doyle, Ritter Farm. It's not the greatest of lineups. You're not getting like the main people in some of these teams. Here's a Boston lineup, assuming the game plays, right? Cheap, right? Toro, Mayer, Story, Duran, Abreu with some Rangers, right? Garcia, Semien, and then Jansen from the Rays if that game plays. Yamamoto, DeGrom. So, we could do Yamamoto, DeGrom. Here's a San Francisco lineup. Here's an A's lineup. Yeah, now we start dropping off a bit. Right, here's an Angels lineup. Here's a Braves lineup, I guess. I guess you could play. I don't mind this lineup that much, even though you got to play Stuart Fairchild, but that isn't like awful. Obviously, if the Atlanta game plays, so it's possible. Although these stacks aren't like the greatest. Obviously, you got a lot of Boston here. Once you start Xing out games, it's gonna be much different. That's why you run SimLabs closer to lock. You don't do it now. If they PPD the Cincinnati Boston game, this is gonna change like everything, right? They PPD even Tampa Bay. Now you're not going to get Baz in the lineups. You're not going to get Tampa Bay stacks at 5.05 implied run totals, right? And let's say Atlanta game, gone. Well, now you're not going to get Braves in your lineups. That's why even doing it early on these weather slates, it's most likely one of these games is not going to play, and who knows which one it's not going to be, right? And then maybe one game plays and only goes 7 innings or something. Who knows? But it seems like going Yamamoto to DeGrom may not be the best option today. So if we just play Yamamoto, we exclude DeGrom. Let's say we want to play something like Yamamoto and Grant Holmes. What do these lineups look like? Right, okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit cheaper with Grant Holmes, but you don't go that much cheaper. It's only $600 difference. So what do these lineups look like? Did I look any different? Not really. Really, you take a look at these. Cincinnati, these don't look that much different from San Francisco. One noticeable thing is that you don't get really Rocky. Well, here's a Rocky stack, but it's not all rated all that great. I was just assuming that once you put in Yamamoto and DeGrom, it's just Rocky stack, Rocky stack, Rocky stack. But no, you really don't. You get Rockies, but you don't get Rocky stacks as much. So it seems like SimLabs actually, doesn't really, like, if you're going to play some of these top teams, if you're going to play Cincinnati, Boston, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Houston, like, it actually prefers you to play like one of Yamamoto or DeGrom and then someone else. And it could be any of these guys. I mean, really. I think Michael Lorenzen is the best of the bunch. It would tell you Brady Singer is against Boston. I mean, I don't know how owned he's going to be. Maybe he ends up being under-owned. Who knows? If people are going to play Boston. I mean, I'd love to go down to Shane Baz, but truthfully, I'm not sure if that game plays. Because we start putting in like Yamamoto Baz, I'm assuming we get a little bit lineups that at least aesthetically look better. Right, yeah, these, yeah, exactly. Now we get lineups that like aesthetically pleasing. The other lineups are actually better, but these like intuitively go. Oh, here's a Boston stack. Here's that Jordan Beck is a one-off. Oh, this makes sense, right? Here's a Rocky stack with Toro, Olsen, and Murphy, Yamamoto, Baz. Here's a Boston stack with Ohtani and Gunnar Henderson as one-offs. Okay. Here's a Rocky stays with Muncy. This Royals lineup here. We got another Boston lineup, an Atlanta lineup with Yandy Diaz, Willie Adames, Christopher Morel. I mean, these look better. But still, once you put it like Lorenzen, then you're able to get a lot better hitting lineups because 7,200 compared to like DeGrom. I mean, that's a $3,100 difference. So SimLabs is basically saying that it's not really a necessity to play both Yamamoto and DeGrom, and it's tough to do so anyway. But yeah, I would kind of agree with that. I would focus on the hitting today, depending on what games play. Like, once you take out Cincinnati and the Cincinnati Boston game and the Atlanta game and the Tampa Bay game, you're not left with that much. You're left with Coors. That's it. That game. Imagine all those games get canceled or whatever, postponed, or it looks so ridiculous that it's not postponed yet, but it will be. Yeah, like Coors is going to be super owned. Maybe that's where you play the Giants stack or the Royals. Giants, the Royals. Yeah, those would be the two, I guess. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what I'm going to do at this point. I think I'm probably playing 3 lineups. I want these games to play. I actually would prefer if all of the weather games we see on the weather report all play. That we're not worried about them, or at least people that subscribe to RotoGrinders aren't worried about, because if you're watching the weather report, sometimes games get there's a late start in a game, and then people just don't play that game, and then it's going to be perfectly fine because they late start an hour later and they play the game all the way through, or something like that. And then I want to keep apprised of that, so I know those games end up getting lower ownership than they should. So that's really the strategy for today. See what happens. What games are going to get postponed? What games are likely going to get delayed or not delayed? Because I'd love to play the Cincinnati-Boston game, and I don't mind playing it with some risk if people are going to be scared to play it. And I don't mind playing Shane Baz in the same spot with, I'm not sure. And same for the Atlanta stacks. If I'm not sure. So maybe if everything is iffy, maybe I play 3 stacks and I do something like that. But the thing is, one of top strategy heuristics that I would beg to give you on slates like this is that if you're going to play multiple lineups, let's say you played 20 lineups, be more inclined. I'm not saying you have to, but be more inclined in these if you want to take a chance on a game, on a stack, have them only be stack only. So let's say, for instance, that we're not exactly sure what's going on in Atlanta. We're not exactly sure. You want to play the Braves. You want to play Braves, but you're not exactly sure. Well, just play them as a stack. Don't play Marcelo Zuna as a one-off in one of your other lineups. So if the game gets rained out, you have a lineup that has 5 guys in it that have 0 points. You're throwing that lineup in the garbage. That's it. But at least you're not getting zeros in other lineups. And if that game plays great, you get it a low ownership, and here's all you get all 5 of them, and you hope that the whole game goes on. So if you were to play these, I would play stacks only. Unless we get the A-OK by Kevin Roth. That's why you got to tune into Crunch Time. It feels like this has been more of like a Crunch Time weather report video than anything else. But it's the most important thing. Like running SimLabs now with no information on what any of these games being played is kind of a lost cause. You're gonna be doing this closer to lock. You're gonna do this when you get a PPD in the Cincinnati Boston game, and then obviously ownership changes and everything changes, and you're gonna have to run this again anyway. You can run this on your phone on the go. I'd have it on my iPhone. That's what I will be doing. And tuning into Crunch Time and seeing what Roth has to say about the weather, about all these games. But until then, it really doesn't matter. Like, as of right now, Yamamoto, DeGrom lineups aren't like all that great, but maybe they will be. Or maybe there's even less options now. Now, you should never do that. I don't know. I don't know what SimLabs is going to say. You take out Shane Baz from the equation. I don't know. And then who's the cheaper pitcher to play? Am I going to get a ton of Zach Gallen? I have no idea. This is going to matter because you're also getting rid of 2 teams' offenses. You're getting rid of all the Rays as an offense as well. Maybe the Atlanta game gets postponed. Maybe the Cincinnati-Boston game actually does play and the other games get postponed. And Brady Singer becomes a contrarian pitching option at 8K because now so many people are going to try to play Cincinnati and Boston. And you're going to play the pitcher against one of those teams as leverage. You're not going to know those ownership switches until you know what games get played. So that's why you got to tune into Crunch Time. And that's why if you don't do that, at least hit the like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button. You got to hit the subscribe to know when Crunch Time is going to happen, when the notification bell, when we're live. And then you go and you use SimLabs while you're listening to Crunch Time. It's part of the Combo Light package. You get SimLabs for NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA. Our research tools like Plate IQ, Weather Edge, right? Weather Edge too. And all of our premium written content, including Cheese's Goods $1 Million Musings. I'm sure I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure the $1 Million Musings, very similar to this video of we're gonna act as if all the games play, but half the games have issues. So good luck. Good luck to you. Yeah, so you get all of this. So click on the link in the description for more information. And I'll see you back on Friday for another MLB SimLabs analysis here on RotoGrinders.com.